Welcome to the first episode of the Icicle Pod. I'm Ariana. I'm here with Vitor. Before we dive in, I just want to give kind of a brief explanation of Icicle and what this is. Basically, we are working on this larger project of creating an international student community, and this podcast is like a small part of something that's kind of behind the scenes being worked on at the moment. Basically, what this episode is going to be about, we just wanted to bring it back to the very beginning and just talk about if you are a student considering coming to study in the United States, what things you need to think about, what things you need to do. And so I have someone with me who went through the entire thing. I guess, can you tell me, like, where did you study in the U.S.? Where did you come from? Just a little quick overview.
Yeah, so I came from Brazil. I first came to College San Mateo. It's a community college in the Bay Area. And then I transferred to Cal Poly, which is more like middle of California. Yeah.
Cool. And so that sounds super easy now that you've done it all. But back when you were in Brazil, I guess it was like 20.
I came in 2017.
What was going through your mind? Like, what were you doing and what prompted you to study in the U.S.? Like, did you have family here? Did you always know you wanted to do that?
Yeah, so I have no family here. I didn't know at all that I wanted to come to the U.S. Like, I never thought that I was gonna come to the U.S. to study. Like, in high school, I never thought of it. But after high school, I was trying to get into medicine in Brazil. After like studying a lot and trying, I finally realized that I didn't really want to do medicine. Um, and I decided that I wanted to study economics, and I thought like the best place for that would be the U.S. It's just so popular. You see like movies and everything, and I just thought like that's the best place for me to learn what I want to learn, and like the best place for me to like become the best that I can be. And so yeah, I decided to come. It was still like big process to basically like choose the school that I was gonna come to, and just basically figure everything out. But, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we'll kind of delve into that. But when you were like, yes, I want to study in the U.S., like, what do you do? Like, what is the next step? Do you like go to Google? Like, what do you need to even do?
Yeah, like I didn't know anyone that was doing that. Like I didn't have any friend that was gonna study in the U.S. or was like trying to become an international student.
Okay.
So basically, what I had to do is a lot of googling. uh, a lot of googling. I like the most basic things I would be able to find on Google, but I also like as I was going through the process, I kind of found people in Brazil that helped me. There was like this, I think this lady that worked for U.S. And she like helped people become students in the U.S.
Okay.
Yeah, so she kind of gave me some like advice, and like it was through her that I found out about College San Mateo.
So once you are gathering information, how does it work exactly? Like, do you pick a school first or do you go try to get a visa first? I'm assuming, like, if you're not doing community college, you have to also go through like the normal application process.
Yeah, so I mean it's kind of far back now for me to remember everything, but I believe you can only get a visa once you have like being accepted by a school.
Okay.
So you have to apply first. So you have to find out what schools you want to would like to study. For me, I was not a very good student in high school.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. I just in Brazil it's a little bit different. You do a test to go into university. So I just thought like after high school I can just study and like pass this test and go to university. Once I made the decision to come here, I was like, oh, but like they look at all of your grades like from high school, and that's like a big deal to get into a good school. But then I found out about community college where you can basically go study, if you get good grades, you can just transfer to a 4 year college, and it can be a good one. And so I made the decision to do that.
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely do like another episode where we talk about community college as an international student, maybe some pros and cons of that, but it sounds like that was the best option at the time. So, I guess another question is just like what is that F1 visa process like as much as you can remember? Was it like, I mean, do you have to take an exam? Do you need to, how is the English aspect to it?
Well, so it's a little bit different. It's separate things. Like the English, you have to do like an English test. That's to be able to be accepted by the school.
Oh, that's before you
Yeah,
go to
so
visa.
you still have to like do the English test. Like you need to do other tests if you want to go into like a good school, like the same test like ACT, SAT.
Okay, okay.
You still have to do those. But for community college, a lot of them will like you will not need to have those tests. Only the English test. And so after I did those and got accepted into the school, I went to apply for the visa, and for me it was not too complicated. I think it was kind of like fast, but that's for Brazil. I don't know how it would be for like a different country.
And then there is also, if I'm not mistaken, there is like when you've had friends like reach out to you and ask, you always mention that there's like a monetary aspect to it too, right? Like there is some form of fiscal responsibility. Can you explain that?
And that was one of the hardest parts of just coming to the U.S. It's so expensive, like everything. If you're an international student, you're gonna have to pay like out of state fee for all the college basically. So either you want to come and like to a school that can have like a need based like a scholarship kind of like that for international students. It's
Yeah,
not.
I would add like for international students because
Yeah.
there are a lot of schools that do need base scholarships, but it's not applicable to international students.
Yeah, so it's very hard, and that's part of my decision of going to community college because I thought, okay, so I can do 2 years in a community college. It's cheaper than a 4 year college, and then after that, can transfer and do the other 2 years at a 4 year college. So those 2 years that I'm in community college, I'm basically like saving money. It's still a lot of money, but
Still a lot of
it
money.
was yeah, it was
Yeah.
best option for me. Even for a community college, you have to basically for you to be able to come here and get your visa, you have to like have like a letter that say you have the funds for a whole year of that community college. So
Is
you still have to
that
prove that.
is that adjusted based on the school that you're going to, or there's like a set amount of money you
Yeah, so it depends on the school. Each school is gonna like provide what is their total cost for the year,
okay,
and so you have to basically meet that,
I see.
including housing, your food, and everything. Yeah.
You've kind of taught. It sounds like the process is kind of like two different steps. Basically, it's like pick or maybe three. Pick the school, get into the school, and then go through the visa process. That sounds not that complicated. But if you had someone reaching out to you now, like, what do you think you would tell them to do? Like, if it still feels overwhelming or maybe just like uncertain.
Well, it depends on like what part of the process they are. Like they're still looking for a school, they will have to do their research and like figure out. First, you have to think about your major and like what would be a good school for your major. But I think like the most important thing as an international student that you have to be thinking like from the beginning is just how are you gonna like manage to basically get a job after graduation if your goal is to like stay in the US or to like yeah.
So you think that like if someone is considering coming to study in the United States, even at that like initial point of consideration, you want to think like what is my long term goal?
Yeah, because it's very hard to be honest. It's super hard to like so the process
Not
here.
sugarcoating that.
Yeah.
It's hard.
No, the process to be able to work in the U.S. is hard. You cannot work while you're in like school. You can work in the campus, and you can do like internships during the summer, or even during the time that you're in class, as long as like it's like a certain amount. Like there's a limit of hours that you could work.
Okay.
Uh,
Can you be paid for those internships?
you can, but again, it needs to meet the like school like criteria. There's just a lot of rules, but I mean the most important is the job that you want to have after graduating. Basically, you have OPT after you graduate, which is like the amount of time that you can stay in the U.S. Working. It could be either a year or like 3 years, depending on your major.
And this is how long you can stay in the US, still basically reliant on that initial F1 visa without
Yes,
through.
because at the end of the day, the goal is to have like a company sponsor for a H1B visa. It's again it's a lottery basically. A lot of people apply for it, but there's like I think it's only like 60,000 or something the visas that they give, and it's like 700,000 people applying, stuff like that. So that's why you have to come here just like already. I mean, you have to know as much as you can already,
Like
and like
aware.
focus on like how are you gonna go and do that of like getting that job.
Yeah, I think that maybe one of the things that I watched you figure out was just like it is already hard maybe in a major like finance to get an internship, but then when you have an added layer of like coming as an international student, you don't maybe realize like 2017 in Brazil, like wow, it's going to actually be a lot harder for me to get a
Yeah,
job at one of those companies. And like I mean, I don't think maybe it wouldn't have impacted your decision, but like you said, just knowing and having those backup plans, or at least just like the awareness of what will be required of you, is like very good to know. What do you think are
yeah.
some ways people could kind of figure out more niche within their majors? Like if you could go back, how would you navigate like, okay, I want to study econ, I want to go into finance. Like what do you think are some steps you would take to try to be more educated on what you're getting yourself into?
It's hard to tell because there are things that only through experience you can like fully like understand and learn about yourself. Uh, Again, you can try like doing as much research as you can. Like basically, if you want to go into a specific like industry, do a specific job, you have to like basically do a lot of research on that and like find basically communities of people that are working in the industry, and just like asking questions, and just learning more about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely not easy. It's definitely something we're working on making easier for people. Um, stay tuned.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess just try to get as much knowledge as possible, um, and be open to change. I think.
Yeah, it's important as well. Like, if you do come to the U.S. and you start your journey as an international student, you have to do as much as you can, like in school to like basically engage and like be participating in the school and like in the communities in the school, and like basically find those communities of like the area that you're interested in.
Yeah, I think like even without being an international student, there are certain majors that are going to be more impacted, certain majors that are going to be tougher than others. I think definitely like if you're first generation or not from the US, like there are things you sort of realize once you're already there and like you wouldn't see from the outside. But honestly, just like asking other students or people who've gone through it and maybe came back to your home country, like might be hard to find, but like as long as you ask and you ask and you ask, there's at least you're like putting yourself, I feel like, in a better position. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, well, we basically covered that very initial stage. I think definitely there are some areas we can go more deeply into in the future. Definitely we'll talk about community college. But if, yeah, maybe like we can do part two when you land and you're abandoned at the train station. That'll be a good one to share. But yeah, I think
Yeah.
we're done. Okay, well, hopefully this was helpful. If you listen to this, that's so cool because this is our first episode and just all fuzzy and excited about it. Cool. Okay. Well, thank you for watching or listening. Or
Thank you.
yeah, just that's it. There's no more.
Okay, then you can pause it.
Okay. Bye.
Bye bye.